Joe, the primaries yesterday showed that the MAGA candidates continue to be very strong in the Republican primaries. When it comes to the Democratic candidates, maybe not quite as high profile, especially when we're in the sphere of talk radio, but certainly it wasn't like you had a whole lot of moderation coming out of either side of this. It seemed that the further you were to the right or the left, the better you performed in these elections.
No doubt about it. So we talked yesterday about how the primaries can be more exciting than the general election. You were really fired up yesterday saying, these races are going to be exciting.
Yeah.
And I'm not a fan of the excitement when it means that sound, level-headed, or at least candidates who demonstrate more of an ability based on their time in office and things that I've gathered from debates, what they've shown to do in their previous jobs, whether it be in office or out of office, that those candidates, they demonstrate more of an ability to work together with the other side of the aisle. They got sent packing last night.
Some people call that the mushy middle. Some people would say that the level-headed candidates who don't have that kind of riz are potatoes.
Or rhinos or dinos.
Yeah.
I see what you're doing there with the Mark Kelly drop in with the potato. Nice try.
Joe likes to call Mark Kelly a potato because he's not exciting. He's not thrilling. And yet here we find out Joe doesn't like exciting and thrilling. You like starches.
Well, I've told you there are times where I do support potatoes, and right. I've backed the potato before.
Okay.
Sometimes potatoes are exactly what we need and what we deserve, but I don't get it. I'll give you some examples here. Like, why did voters in Fountain Hills resoundingly say no to Joe Arpaio as their next mayor, but voters in Maricopa County decided they wanted his right-hand guy, Jerry Sheridan, to become the next Maricopa County sheriff?
Okay. Is it possible, let me just think through this a little bit. Is it possible that Joe Biden hurt Joe Arpaio?
Go on.
Joe Arpaio is old, right? Isn't Joe Arpaio, I believe he's 344 years old.
Give or take a couple.
No, but he's in his 90s, right? Mid-90s, isn't he?
Believe so.
Pablo, will you bing that for us real quick? So I think Arpaio is in his mid-90s. And is it possible that the people of Fountain Hills went, he's too old to be the mayor?
92.
92, okay, early 90s. He's too old to be our mayor. Look, we said Joe Biden was too old to be our president. 81, and here's a guy 11 years older. He's lost his fastball. We can't vote for him. But we like who he used to be, so why don't we vote for somebody who... But also, let's keep in mind that the sheriff's race was a county-wide race, whereas the Fountain Hills mayor race was
just
Fountain Hills. Right. I'm just saying maybe age played a factor.
That's possible. Okay. I'll give that to you. Sure. Right. We saw Tyler Camp unseat the current interim sheriff, Russ Skinner, the gentleman who took over after Paul Penzone left office.
Right.
You and I have had a conversation with Russ Skinner. He joined us on the air, broke down some data from one of the latest stop reports. Seemed like a level-headed guy to me. Admittedly, I don't know anything about Tyler Camp. He could be far left. He could be more moderate. I don't know.
Okay.
But that surprised me a little, that the guy who's currently serving in office soundly defeated last night. Why was Stephen Richer, a sound conservative who stood up to election deniers for years in 2020 and 2022, sent packing and primaried by State Representative Justin Heap? Some say that Heap is, or at least was, an election denier who railed on the results of the election in both 2020 and 2022. So we sit there and say, we, as an electorate, we like Stephen Richer. He's standing up for us, and this election was fair, it was done right. And then last night, we vote for the election denier, what some say, in Representative Justin Heap.
Okay.
To be the Republican candidate in the general.
Let me just, as Joe likes to say, push back a little.
And by we, I mean the results that happen.
Okay. Push back a little. No bigger election denier than Anthony Kern, who was there on January 6th, right? Anthony Kern got smoked in that CD8 race, which was a 6-way race or something,
I'm
right?
glad you bring him up. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he got 5% of the vote, whereas Hamadeh is leading. He's got 30%, Masters with 25%. Anthony Kern got 5%.
You want me
Is
to
it
go there
because-
for a second?
Yeah. Well, should we go back to your vegetable analogy? Is he a rutabaga?
So Kern didn't have Trump's endorsement, and he was running in, as you mentioned, a crowded 6-person primary where 2 others did have Trump's seal of approval.
Okay.
And to me, the more extreme, Hamadeh, is leading the more reasoned Masters. Hamadeh is an election denier who is an anchor baby, the term he likes to use, when he is somebody who was born to, it's the term he uses, when he's born to illegal immigrants here in the U.S., what he would call an anchor baby.
Okay. All right.
And yet he's leading too.
Yeah.
So Kern, though, not leading. And again, it comes back to didn't get the Trump endorsement, in my mind.
All right. So it really has to do with
Who
getting the
seems
seal
to
of
be,
approval.
or who seems to be the most extreme? Who runs to the fringe?
Could we? Somebody else that got Trump approval and has had Trump approval for many years. Is there a case to be made that these extreme candidates actually hurt the party's chance to win the seat in the end, a la Kerry Lake? Or Abe Hamadeh, Blake Masters, those
Mark
that have been
Fincham.
yeah,
Sure.
MAGA endorsed and then losing in statewide elections last time around.
And that's why it surprised me last night, because I would think that Republicans would have. Why do you try to run it back? If you saw this play out in 2022, when you had several MAGA, more right candidates, you would sit there and go, in 2022, these candidates were soundly defeated in the general election. Do we really want to do this again? And yet that's what it seemed like played out again last night. You see Hamadeh win again in the primary. You see Kerry Lake win again in the primary. Now, she was expected to win, and she's also run a more moderate, less divisive campaign this time around as well, whereas some of the others have chosen not to. So that surprised me. Can we talk about Gilbert for a second, too? Because that surprised me.
Can I put one cap on the whole Kerry Lake thing? You said it was a moderate, less divisive. That was also against another Republican. Maybe she wants to try to bring more Republicans into the fold this time around, but I would expect to see things get ratcheted up here when it comes to fighting against Ruben Gallego.
I told you yesterday, if Kerry Lake sits down and I can ask her one question, I want to know who the real Kerry Lake is. And that still stands, where I don't know what she stands for. If she is more moderate, if she is more divisive, I just want to know who the real Kerry Lake is. Is it that person who was running a couple years ago?
Maybe it's that person that will do what it takes to win. Maybe that's the real Kerry Lake.
I just want to know the truth. Not I'll say whatever it takes to win. I want the truth.
The truth is she wants to win more than anything else.
And you'll lie to do it? Because I'm not down with a liar or somebody who says things they don't believe in.
She wants to win.
Election was stolen. Election wasn't stolen. She has to pick a side on that. To me, election was not stolen.
What can I say to you that will help me win? That's the side she picks. That's her lane.
And
it's Machiavellian, but that's her lane.
And to me, the truth is what wins. If you think the election was stolen, I will not be going down that road.
All right, so take me to Gilbert now.
So Gilbert, you and I talked a couple weeks ago. Mayor candidate Scott Anderson, he's poised to win the race. He claimed last month that the police out there do a swell job. When asked about the Gilbert Goons, he said, Gilbert's police have been instrumental in making approximately 40 arrests related to teen violence. Investigations take time to establish defensible arrests. Our police department has acted with integrity and diligence when presented with evidence.
Right.
Chris, your rebuttal to that?
We talked to the polygraph machine, and it said that was a lie.
And yet, he's going to win.
Yeah.
That will be your next mayor out in Gilbert. And yet we've seen people in Gilbert for months say, we're not down with this. We want somebody who...
determined that was a lie.
A little late on the sound effects there, Pablo.
They wanted
late on that, bud.
They wanted somebody who would, fight, stand up for the city, who would hold the police accountable, and instead they go with this guy who says, "Hey, our police department has been doing a tremendous job."
Crack up.
Has the chief of police done a tremendous job in Gilbert? No.
No.
The lie detector says
No.
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 And yet that will be your next mayor.
So let me ask you this then. Are you more excited about November or less excited about November?
Much less excited.
Are you more anxious about November or less anxious about November?
I'm more anxious.
More anxious, but less excited.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
which is not good.
Thanks for watching The Chris and Joe Show. Click to see more from Chris and Joe and tap the button in the middle to subscribe to KTAR News.